to Alex, our first speaker, who's from Fauvel Capital.
Thanks, Maria. So I work at Cyber Capital, and my talk's going to be about the economies of cryptocurrency. My handle on Twitter is Second Entropy. I only joined in January, so follow me if you want. If you find anything interesting here, I hope you're going to learn something, but we shall find out. I'm going to be going over a lot of topics very quickly, so I hope that you absorb all of this. But we're going to be going over the economic flows of networks. We're going to be looking at economics as a fundamental science or natural system, the governance structures of networks, and network structures under different governance models. So, the evolution of networks. Does anyone know what that is? It's a mesh network. In other words, a distributed network. This is what everyone thinks decentralization looks like. But you can effectively model this as people. Everyone in here is connected to other people in this room, and you're not really connected to other people you don't know, so you've got a sort of distributed network. But as soon as you start applying economics to this, it changes what happens to the network. So transactions are the economy, but every transaction has different outcomes for the participants of the transaction. You can have a transaction that is beneficial to one party, but negative to another. So you change the economic power of each person or node in that network. So what happens is you get clustering. You may have seen this in the real world with the Lightning Network, if anyone knows what that is. But this effectively takes what people think is decentralized network into something that doesn't really look that decentralized. And if you keep on running, you get one supernode. One node that's a lot bigger. You may have several, but they're so much more powerful than anyone else in the network that if you take that out, the network's destroyed. We'll look more at that later. So we can build up a map of what the world looks like. We've got a central authority with businesses or powerful economic nodes connected to that central authority, and people then connected to that business. So you have a kind of complete map of what the world looks like in terms of power structures. That's the internal structure, and it's very important to recognize that all those lines are connections. So you're not connected to everyone, but you are connected to some. So applying economic flows to the world network that we've just seen, it's important to recognize that every single one of those nodes must interact with that central authority, because that's what they're there for. They're there to ensure the survival of the network. If we run that, we see this. Some nodes get smaller, some get bigger. But the central authority tends to always get bigger because everyone's interacting with it. And if the whole economy grows, then the central authority will grow. Failure looks like that. Very, very damaged. How do people trade when their connections are severed? They can't. So we need to avoid that. The evolution of economics. This is where I go a bit away from regular economics, because I think economists are kind of missing the point. And I have evidence for this. But Elon Musk likes to look at things from first principles. Economics should not be any different. So what is economics? Economics is the study of trade. Trades are exchange of energy, right? If you make a product, you've put energy into that product, I'm buying it from you. I can buy it with another form of energy, like food, or I can buy it with a representation of energy, which would be money. Thermodynamics is partly what I studied at university. I did mechanical engineering. It's the relationship between all forms of energy. Economics would be the study of relationships of energy and value. And value, you can say, is just information because it's a metric for what you measure energy. This is from 1962. Thermoeconomics. It was pretty much ignored, but it essentially applies the laws of thermodynamics to economic theory. But if economics is a science, what are its laws? First law, value cannot be in two places at once. This sounds really simple, but all good laws are. Energy can never be used without inefficiencies, and production must be driven by environment's energy. Humans cannot produce energy. We must consume it from the environment. I will be focusing on the value cannot be in two places at once because it's the best starting point for everyone. Money is actually a communication problem. That sounds really weird, but when you think about it, how does everyone in the world know when a transaction has happened? You want to ensure that when I hand over money, I can't go and spend it again to someone else. So you have to ensure that everyone knows that a transaction has occurred. That's the problem. If value can't be in two places at once, gold fulfilled that perfectly. You can't create gold from nothing. Fiat money can. Fiat money can create energy by stealing it from other places in the network and produce it locally. That's the issue with fiat currency. It's stealing energy. This is from biology. It's called coevolution, and it's the study of hosts and parasites and their dynamics. It's called the Red Queen hypothesis. But essentially what it means is that a host grows, and then a parasite begins to grow inside it. The parasite is consuming energy from the host, but the host is has evolved to consume energy in the most efficient way possible for its environment. A parasite is not. A parasite just consumes energy given to it from the host. So when the host dies, the parasite can't survive in the real world. This is fiat and gold. When you look at what's happened to civilization, it started on gold and then it went to fiat. Energy is being taken from society by the people that print money. We need to avoid that. So how can we come up with a governance structure where that is completely avoided? Well, there are only really 3 different governance structures that we can have, and they relate to cryptocurrencies because they need a governance structure. So in the cryptocurrency world, we have the protocol layer, which is the base blockchain. We have the network layer, which is business to business. Some of you might know 0x, they're very similar. And application layer, something like CryptoKitties, something that users interact with, but doesn't really fulfill much of a purpose other than for fun and entertainment. Cool. So how do we coordinate that structure and build a solid foundation? Well, we can have a central authority, but the world has lived on that for millennia. Central authorities are the Fed, Department of State, HMRC. Semi-decentralized are mesh networks. So before you get to a single supernode, you get that sort of distributed graph type thing with bigger nodes. That's effectively the semi-decentralized, multiple governments working together, that kind of thing. And then in the cryptocurrency world, it's going to piss some people off, but Ripple and Neo have this type of model, and it's kind of weird because they completely missed the point of cryptocurrencies. And then we have a complete graph. And a complete graph is what Bitcoin was designed to be. Every node is connected to every other node in that network, and that's full decentralization. You can drop off if you're a node and still see what is in that network. So when users interact in a single node, they have a monopoly of choice. They can only go to one place to get an account. In a semi-decentralized, you can go anywhere, but managing multiple accounts with multiple different authorities might be pretty difficult. With the decentralized network, you have an account with the network. So if any one of those nodes fail, you're fine. This is what a semi-decentralized network looks like. This actually is a pretty good representation of what the world is. This here, that's something like Venezuela, North Korea, Cuba. They've been cut off from the rest of the network. They struggle. And if that node dies, right in the middle, those people get screwed. They can't do anything. Those people, if they done anything wrong, are they less hardworking? No, they're just isolated. In a complete graph, it doesn't matter whether any of those fail. You're still connected to everyone. You can still trade. That's the whole point. We need a system that if any government fails, its people will be fine. If the economies of any of these governments fail, doesn't matter what reason, every person will still be able to live and consume the goods that they want without permission. So, fiat siphons off energy from the host because energy is money. In a complete graph, you can't do that. You can't do that without anyone else knowing. They're going to know that you've done it. And a complete graph has no central point of failure. That's what this is about. This is about our own survival. Thanks.
Q&A. Alex will be in the panel, so you can ask as many questions later. All right.
Thank you.